ceremony.
Hi, Fire Emblem Berserk, Dead or Alive, Ninja Gaiden, The Legend of Zelda, Fist of the North Star, Gundam, One Piece. That's just the spin-offs, and I'm probably forgetting one at the moment because there's been so many. And that's not even including the main lines in the Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, and that one they did about the Siege of Troy. But that's enough talk out of me. Here's 5 franchises I think would be great for a Dynasty Warriors spin-off.
It's number 5.
Final Fantasy. You know, aside from the fact that the franchise has been around for 30 years already, the very fact that Dragon Quest, I forgot one. It's proven at the very least that the RPG hero type is a very easy fit into the Dynasty Warriors format. And while I do realise that the Final Fantasy Dissidia franchise, you know, the one where they beat each other up in like these vast arenas, I feel if we take the focus away from the main heroes, so to say, and give a couple of side characters a little bit of chance to shine, Final Fantasy Warriors or Heroes could prove to be a very different beastie altogether. I mean, you have to have series mainstays like Cloud Strife. #Cloud Strife didn't deserve to be in Smash Brothers. But if you look at Final Fantasy IV, you're like, yeah, I want to have Cecil with it instead of Sid. I mean, very obviously, Sid is the best character in Final Fantasy IV, and there will be no debating that. Then you would be off your rocker. Dynasty Warrior games need people with unique weapons, and characters like Sid from Final Fantasy IV, or Setzer from 6 with playing cards, or Wakka from 10 with bloody blitzballs. I mean, this is not an endorsement of Wakka and his weird mental state. Seriously, what was up with that guy? But if you did all the main characters in all the Final Fantasies, you would just spend the entire game collecting swords. As for the big bad guy, well, I can't make it any easier. Just go with Chaos again. I mean, he is the big one that does the time travel thing. Oh yeah, I suppose Ultima Seer did that as well, but Chaos was already the big bad guy in Dissidia, so hey, first come, first served, and in this case, first Final Fantasy come, first served, blah 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 blah. Plus, there's your mechanical ready. Time travel brings all these heroes together from different universes into this one big world, and they have to fight generic evil monsters and generic evil soldiers, and in the end they fight a couple of bad guys. Throw in Sephiroth, there you got your game of the year, everybody will buy it. Number 5, Final Fantasy.
Cut your number 4, please.
Welcome to Castlevania! That legit never gets old. I could do that on an infinite loop. Here we have what is probably my favourite franchise that isn't owned by Nintendo. It's been around for 30 years. That sounds like a big heavy number, doesn't it? 30. And yes, I'm quite aware that the people at Konami at the moment think that making actual games that aren't pachinko slot machines is just not done. Yeah, well, aside from the Bomberman they put out on the Switch recently. Let's hope that encouraged them to, make actual games. Because Castlevania has so many entries and so many unique characters. Sure, if you don't think about it, you'd think every character would be having a whip. Obviously, you'd have Alucard with his sword, you could have Eric Lucard with a spear, you could have Charlotte from Port of the Ruin, maybe involve some time travel with a unique character that's been created just for this installment, and oh dear, this all sounds very familiar all of a sudden. I can pretend as if I've forgotten about Castlevania Judgment, but I bought that game and I beat it to completion, okay? Besides, the Castlevania universe is just rife with locations and weird parts of the castle you could use for this. Who cares if it's not 100% accurate as it was in the game when it first appeared? The castle is a creature of chaos. Ooh, spooky scary. The skeletons are an easy army to fight against, and if you really want to mess up all the timelines, you could even have Dracula meet Dracula. Yes, I am legit pitching that mainstream series Dracula would meet Lord of Shadow Dracula. You'd have 2 Draculas and nobody would know what to do with it. Also, the game series had already invented the weapon crashes back in Rondo of Blood, so those would be so perfect for the super attacks. Plus, I hunger for any Castlevania in any way, shape or form. You'd better not disappoint me, Koji Igarashi. Number 4, Castlevania.
It's number 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Comic books. Don't we all love them? And what is more timeless nowadays than superheroes? Whether you like them human or relatable, or if you think that they should be brooding anti-heroes, dealing with the worst that humanity has to offer. I hope us nerds can agree that the superhero world that has been created for us is so huge and varied and diverse. I mean, within the same universe, you can have space operas, magic users, and grimy, gritty detectives who may or may not be chimps. So obviously a superhero team as a Dynasty Warriors game is a perfect fit. So then you have to look at the biggest two companies we have, DC and Marvel. And even though I have personal favorites in both universes, I still have to pick one of them. It's not very easy, but I'd have to go with the Avengers. The reason herefore is not only has Warner Brothers decided to make their expanded universes a little bit more darker and broodier than most normal superhero fare. I mean, look at the movies and look at Injustice. Injustice Gods Among Us literally takes place in another universe where Superman brutally murdered the Joker. My other reason is that I often look at the Justice League as a bastion of gods. There's something in me that tells me the big seven of this Justice League are supposed to be untouchable for most superhumans. Whereas if we look at the Avengers, I usually tend to see a ragtag bunch of misfits. Yes, very often they're called Earth's mightiest heroes, but a lineup which once consisted out of Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver and Hawkeye was called Cap's Kooky Quartet. Plus, Marvel is owned by Disney, which is trying to go with a little bit more broader appeal, which I feel fits better into a kind of Dynasty Warriors franchise. The MCU being hugely popular helps as well, because by God, how many people would pay money to replay that scene where the Avengers fight at Chitauri in New York? Chitauri? I don't know, they're aliens, I've only seen it written down, give me a break! Make one of the big bad guys Kang the Conqueror, and there we go, we have another very easy time travel plot to explain why all these people that maybe shouldn't know each other or are from different universes or timelines can interact. I just have one demand, give me Doctor Doom, or else I will have to rescind my magnanimous offer. Number 3, The Avengers.
Welcome to number 2.
Street Fighter. Okay, maybe not so much Street Fighter as like a bigger Capcom universe. If you know me, I am a huge fan of Mike Hager and Final Fight. Now, if you don't know me, I am Mikhail Gorbachev's upside down face. It has always struck me as very odd that the Street Fighter universe has this evil organization called Shadow Law. Shadow Law? And every setting for every game is always the fighting tournament, which somehow gets hijacked by M. Bison Evil Scheme of the Week. For real though, how do we go from you're my next opponent to I'm going to shoot this giant laser? But with several evil organizations around like the aforementioned Shadow Law and Mad Gear, you can have mooks out of the wazoo. Dear Diary, today I said mooks out of the wazoo. It's weird. The biggest issue would be that everybody would be kung fu fighting. Personally, I don't see that as a huge detriment. In fact, it might harken back to the old beat-em-up days that Capcom used to be so good at. And seeing as most of these franchises already share a universe, there's no need for some kind of a dimensional or time travel plot. Okay, fine, I'll just show the Doctor Who tunnel one more time. Give us people like Guile, Chun-Li, everybody involved in the Secret Service. Personally, give me Mike Hager, of course, and Rolento. Then go beat the living daylights out of a bunch of soldiers and gang members, and maybe throw in Balrog there as well. No, not that one. Yeah, Boxer, that one. And if you really want to be cheesy, just have the plot be about clones, because clones are a thing in the Street Fighter universe. How do they play this so straight? It's so weird. It's me, Guile, your best friend turned Frankenstein's monster who has to kill the guy who's now living in a cloned body which used to be a woman, I think. Round 1. Fight! Number 2. Capcom and the expanded Street Fighter universe. And now some honorable and dishonorable mentions just because I can. Ha! I have legit seen people say that they want Super Mario to have a Warriors game. That is like the worst fit ever. What's wrong with you? Sonic, no.
How about, hang on, Sonic actually has quite intricate...
No! Sonic is the world's biggest case of Stockholm Syndrome. Dragon Ball Z. Now, I was actually considering this myself as well, but the biggest drawback here is that Dragon Ball Z is very focused on laser beams and spans of big flashing lights and power moves like that. It would work a lot better back in the day when it was still just Dragon Ball. I mean, like Kid Goku attacking the Red Ribbon base. Oh, yes, please, thank you. Mind you, that already has a game on the Game Boy Advance. Yes, it's in 2D, but it's one of the best beat-em-ups I've ever played in my life. Yes, honestly, The Witcher. I have to take somebody else's word for this. He swears The Witcher would be great for a Warriors game. I've just never played any of them. Lord of the Rings, I'm not sure. I want to say no, because I don't really see it working. Mind you, we also have the Shadow of series at the moment, and that's basically a war game where you kill thousands of orcs. Except for that one fucker. That one fucker that never dies is gonna come back to you. Mega Man X. Mega Man X already had an RPG, like on the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, but I like the idea, but it's just very too much projectile-based. Basically the same problem that Dragon Ball Z has. And it kinda has to be Mega Man X, because I really can't see it working for the regular Mega Man franchise. Yeah, I still love you, Base. I love you. Lots. P.S. Give me Hyrule Warriors 2. Now, please.
Yes, number 1.
Power Rangers. Or, as is more likely, Super Sentai, which is super Japanese, and the Dynasty Warriors franchise is made in Japan. And here's the thing, I don't understand how this is not already an existing thing. Power Rangers / Sentai is all about people with weird weapons fighting enormous amounts of mooks, every now and then stopping to fight a bigger mook. And I know there is a danger it would be like Forever Red, but surely you can tell me that out of so many decades of a franchise of beating up rubber-suited monsters, that there aren't many more unique characters aside from always the red one. At the very least, all the sixth ones, all the extra Rangers are perfectly viable options. I wouldn't be able to tell you much about the original Japanese format of Sentai, but when I look at Power Rangers, it is so obvious that already takes place in the main universe. And really, how difficult is it to just come up with the idea for dimensional travel? There have been so many Ranger / Sentai incarnations throughout the years. Maybe you could even just make the standard game about the one team that adapts the powers of all the other teams. Basically the entire Tensou Sentai Gosaiga or Power Rangers Megaforce idea. Oh, and the monsters. There's so many monsters to pick from. There's so many big bad guys you could go with. There's so many things you could just all smush together. This could be like a 10-part series of its own. I don't understand why this does not already exist. Do people not like money? I think this is a great way to make money. The only thing that would make me slightly hesitant is the idea of the giant robots. But maybe you can use them in super moves, because I know Gundam has got a series of its own, but I cannot imagine interchanging between giant robots and small foot soldiers. Seriously, Dynasty Warriors is a big, flamboyant, action-packed franchise series full of fighting, and Sentai and Power Rangers are a big, flamboyant, action-packed series about fighting, and they are like the same thing, obviously, but the one is a video game and the other one is real life. Okay, I know the other one is not really real life, but you know what I mean. There are suits in existence. You can touch the suits. I cannot touch a video game. Okay, yes, I can touch a video game. Stop being so needlessly pedantic. You can't tell me that out of everything in existence, every license, every intellectual property, that putting yourself in a Sentai suit, swinging a weapon around, destroying like 14 foot soldiers in one go, isn't the most one-on-one comparison you can think of. Just, if this would ever be based on Sentai, just do the Americans a favor, because I know there's a lot of them that still watch the show, despite them all being my age as well. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's still a kid show, just realise that. So just do us a favour and put Lord Zed in there somewhere. Because everybody loves Lord Zed. Number 1, Super Sentai Power Rangers.
Well, there we have it, my 5 picks, which are better than your picks because you're not the one making a video about it on the internet. I suppose there's a comment section down below. You can leave me all the hate you want. You know, click like, click dislike because you hate me. Subscribe, you can see my big fat face and find me on any social media you can. Just to harass me, hound me until the end of the days. There's a moped driving down the road and I was distracted by that briefly. You win this time.